Welcome. Thanks for giving your time. So, as Sami said, the topic itself is can be discussed in relation to many asset classes, but we'll try to keep it short and focus a bit on what's India's impact on India's markets are going to be. Again. Even within this, there are so many details that we can discuss, but we'll try to keep it crisp and not to delve too much into too many details. Right now, before we start, we will be like the current scenario is volatile. We'll also be shifting the slides in a volatile fashion because there are so many interconnections that we have to go for, forward and backward. Okay, so before we start, as you know, almost more than 2 months now, the war. Uh, this is the broad impact. The crude is the primary variable now, which is driving everything. At least in the minds of people, market participants. But in our view, crude is not just it's just one of the aspects. In fact, there are probably more impactful reasons why Indian markets are behaving the way they are. Right. So crude, of course, is one of the major components. So Brent, everything is 50% up. But I think more than the uh, you know the crude headline move, I think the critical problem for Indian economy is the fact that Indian basket and the impact on Indian commodities related to rather which are linked to oil, the price increases have been significant. So if you go back, if you look at the Indian you know perspective, the problem for India is not just about crude. If you look at the current scenario of who actually supplies India, right? A lot actually comes through Hormuz, right? The Strait of Hormuz. So, almost if you count 20 plus 12 plus 7, so you have 40, almost 45% of India's basket comes there. So it actually might seem to indicate that at least 55% is not impacted, but that's really not the case. Even that 55% will now be subject to global tensions, right? The way Russian negotiations were before this war happened. Then US sanctions in terms of buying Russian oil. So all of those factors make India's position very, very difficult in the current scenario, and that's what market is reacting to. Right now, if you look at the actual, the problem for India, right? The problem is that it's not just about the crude. If you look at the other things which are the products, right? Because LPG, for example, is imported significantly, right? Qatar is one of the primary suppliers. Jet fuel has gone up 100%, right? Despite the headline being 50% move in crude, the genuine product concerns, right? And even things like fertilizers are impacted, right? So the point we're trying to make is the Indian economy is much more intensely linked to what is happening in the Middle East. And unfortunately, India has no real role to play. I mean, strategically, in terms of the negotiations, neither it has any role to play. It's just a silent watcher for now. So that's one aspect which markets are taking as a negative in the current scenario, right?